Estonia is a small European country with an outsized presence in the war in Ukraine. It was annexed by the Soviet Union. Now it's independent, it still shares a border with Russia, and it's been one of the most vocal states in calling for action against Moscow. I'm Andrew Hopkins, and I've been speaking to the Estonian Foreign Minister, Margus Tsahkna, one-on-one. Foreign Minister, thank you very much for talking to TRT World. First of all, let's talk about the war in Ukraine. There seems to be a renewed focus at the moment to try and bring it to an end, particularly from Donald Trump. Now, Estonia, yourself, you're involved in a lot of these meetings with the EU, the Coalition of the Willing, and briefings with Vladimir Zelensky himself. What's your feeling about where we are at the moment, and are we closer than ever, do you think, to an end to the conflict?
Indeed, it is very important to start finally the real peace process. And I just met a couple of days ago with President Zelensky and the Prime Minister. I was in a visit to Ukraine, and there is a great willingness for that. But of course, there are preconditions, and starting from the ceasefire, which is actually not there. And as well, what we see during the last couple of months, that President Trump is really willing to have a peace, and also has offered several times President Putin the opportunities. But the only person who doesn't want to have any kind of peace, even the ceasefire, is unfortunately President Putin. So what we see is more action, more pressure on the front. Also, Russia is pumping now very heavily the infrastructure of energy and civil people. So it is the main concern as well for Ukraine, that this winter will be very hard. But the good thing as well is we have been believing in, and also Ukrainians are always saying that the peace will come through the strength. And so we need to increase the pressure to Russia. And the European Union just lately adopted the 19th package of the sanctions, which is very strong. Also, the Commission is already preparing for the next package. And as well, President Trump has hit pretty hard to Russian oil companies, Rosneft and Gazprom, with the sanctions. And it seems that Putin is deeply concerned because his economy is not doing well. He has not any kind of strategic breakthrough on the battlefield. So I think that we need to increase this pressure even more, and of course to give Ukrainians the weapons what we can.
We've had in recent weeks these various reports of Russian aircraft violating airspace, your own country, elsewhere in the Baltic states, and also Poland, Denmark. What do you think? I mean, it happened in your country in September. 3 Russian MiG jets were in your airspace for 12 minutes without permission, I understand. What's the correct response to this, do you think? And what's Vladimir Putin trying to achieve by doing this at the moment?
Yes, indeed. We have had lots of attacks which is not crossing the Article 5 level of NATO. So Russia is pushing us under pressure, is testing us, what we do, is trying to divide our societies, and of course trying to divide as well the Europe and US, but he has not been successful. So Estonia, as you mentioned as well, we had a very brutal violation of the airspace with 3 fighter jets for 12 minutes. The response was exactly as NATO has planned for such a situation. So the planes went up, and we were ready as well to shoot them down, but there was no practical reason for that, because the threat was not immediate and military to our sovereignty. But the next time if they come, and it will be the threat, so NATO will act as it planned. As Trump said as well, we will shoot them down. But Putin tries to test us, push us. You know, I'm said many times that this strategy is like the boiling the frog, you know, turning on the heat step by step. If we list everything what we have had in Europe, I'm not talking only about Estonia, during the last 3 years, about hybrid attacks, how some call these attacks, but I call them just attacks, which is not crossing the Article 5 principle. So if you list everything, and then you put it like 4 years ago, you know, back, we could have been maybe in shock and maybe even call Article 5. So this is what Putin is doing, putting pressure to the neighbors, to Europe, at the same time waging the war in Ukraine.
But wouldn't shooting down Russian jets be an escalation of the conflict? And are you 100% sure that all of NATO would back you if you did that?
We called Article 4 consultation this time, and everybody was backing us up, and NATO was very much united. As well, before that, the Polish drone attack happened. Poland as well called Article 4, and we started the Eastern Sentry mission, which is meant for increasing the capabilities on the eastern flank about the air defense and the border security on military level, and it's already there. It is working well. But also we called the United Nations Security Council meeting, and this support, what we saw, not only amongst the NATO allies and Europe, but it's a global concern. I had supporting me when I made this press statement more than 50 countries and all European Union. So this concern is really, very, very broad about Russian aggression. So if there is a need, and if we see that Russia is really violating our territorial integrity and our sovereignty, then there are, procedures to act and to shoot them down. And this is not an escalation. I don't believe in that. This is actually the normal reaction what the sovereign country must do together with its allies.
Also recently, Türkiye deployed an AWACS aircraft to Lithuania as part of the NATO force in Europe, in Eastern Europe. So I'm wondering how significant was this for the Baltic states? It's part of this action in countering Russia at the moment.
Yes, indeed. Actually, Putin has pushed our allies more together, and everybody understands that the eastern flank is something in everybody's interest to make more stronger. And this is a significant move from Turkey, as you mentioned. But as well, next year it's agreed already that Turkey will hold the air policing mission in Estonia. The same fighters from Greece went up this time when the Russian planes came in. And the next time, if Russia will violate during the Turkey fighters are there, it will happen. But actually Turkey from the history has a experience to shoot down the Russian plane when it violated the territory of the Turkey. So I think that Putin must think many, many times before he's going to violate our territories again.
Also related to Turkey, we've got these coalition of the willing meetings taking place, which Türkiye is involved in, and it's all about working out security guarantees if there's a final settlement in the war in Ukraine, how to support Ukraine going forward. So where are we at the moment with those meetings? What has been agreed upon, and what role do you see Türkiye playing in this in the future?
Turkey is playing a very big role because Turkey is a powerful country and as well very close and also the #1 country in this region to guarantee the security and military as well. So Turkey is a very important and strong ally to Europe and in the NATO as well. Turkey is playing a very good role. So on the coalition of the willing, the planning is on the military level. I think that the political willingness is there. But the question is in what conditions at all it may happen, so it's not clear, of course. And our first and main priority is, of course, to support Ukraine now in fighting, and then through strength, as I mentioned before, to get these kind of conditions that Putin will start the ceasefire and real negotiations. And then we must be ready to locate our troops, I do hope, to Ukraine to guarantee the peace.
Also, at the moment, we've got a new focus within the European Union itself about expanding its defence capabilities because of the conflict in Ukraine. We've got this, the ReArm 2030 programme, we've got the SAFE initiative, which would allow EU members, in conjunction with other partners, potentially Türkiye, which has applied to join this initiative, which would allow them to sort of all get together and produce weapons, defence products more efficiently and secure supply chains. So what's your view on this, and in particular, should Türkiye be involved and why?
First, I'm very happy that finally Europe is moving. Europe has been, during the last maybe 30 years, like an old fat cat who is just waiting that somebody's coming to pour the milk to the can and then maybe to lick or not to lick this milk. But now I think that unfortunately Putin didn't wake the old Europe up, but it was Trump saying very clearly that if Europe is not putting the skin in the game, if we're not going to take really the real responsibilities of our defense and about investments as well, so US won't automatically backing us up. And I think that this message has been very clear, that everybody understands that Russia is and will remain the security threat for Europe. So now we have these programs, as you mentioned as well, and Estonia and the Baltic states and Poland, we already fulfilled the 5% target about defense investments, and all the other Europe is coming as well. So we need lots of money very rapidly and as well capabilities. In that regard, Estonia is in very clear position that Turkey must be involved to these programs. First for us, the second as well for Ukraine, because Ukraine is part of the safe mechanism and so on. But we have even more opportunities because on political level we have finally made the principled decision about how can we use and if we are going to use the Russian frozen assets. And we are talking about more than 200 billion euros worth Russian central bank assets in Europe. So these decisions are opening lots of opportunities as well for Turkey and our allies outside from the European Union to be part of these programs which we are supporting Ukraine, but also we are increasing the capabilities for European countries. And for Estonia, Turkey is a very reliable partner. We have already very large-scale agreements about defense procurements, and we will have even more of them. So I think that Europe must collaborate with Turkey a lot and to take down the barriers what are there about these programs.
I was going to ask you about defence cooperation because earlier this year Estonia took delivery, I think, of 50 Turkish-made armoured military vehicles. So is this your main focus going forward in your relations with Turkey, this defence cooperation, or are there other aspects to this?
Yes, indeed. I think that Estonia has the largest deal on military procurement ever with Turkey. And there are many topics in the pipeline already, and also the Turkey accompanies investments to Estonia, the defense industry. So this is the topic we are really much collaborating and also negotiating, and my visit here is as well based on this, that the defense cooperation, political cooperation, but also very practical cooperation must be increased. And this time as well, Estonia have money. We now planning the next 4 years procurements, and we know exactly that we need to have a reliable partner. Turkey is definitely a very reliable partner, and the second is to deliver the quality level of military equipment what we need. So Turkey is a strategic partner for Estonia.
Foreign Minister, thank you very much.
Thank you.